Thank you for making it out. And how was traffic?
Wasn't too bad, man. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, you were downtown LA?
Yep.
Okay, so straight 20 minutes, 30 minutes?
Yeah, it was 24 minutes, I think MapQuest said.
Isn't it amazing how, like, most places, like I lived in Santa Cruz, Monterey, if something's 5 miles away and you say how far is it? People say 5 miles away. Here it's like 20, 30 minutes. Well, how far did you drive? 6 miles.
6 miles, yeah.
You know, and that 20, 30 minutes sometimes is an hour.
Yeah, it's always more minutes than miles.
100%.
Yep.
100%. So we met last week. Your nickname is Bob Moonshine,
Yep.
right? Why is that?
I've been a whiskey connoisseur for quite a while now, and basically how I got started was, I used to go out. I knew some guys that did some tastings and stuff like that, so I really got to taste a lot of different, scotches, bourbons, everything like that, and just become a hobby for me. I really enjoyed it. Enjoyed drinking it, old fashions and stuff. So I basically went to a place one time and they had a barrel aged old fashioned. So I started barrel aging my own old fashions. Basically take the ingredients, let it set at least 6-8 weeks. Amazing.
So you would buy your barrels and
Yep.
And wood
Yep.
barrels obviously is the way to go.
Yeah, charcoal. Yeah, burned inside.
So it's kind of. I mean, I don't want to say it's that simple, but it's the beginning step starts off that simple.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy where it blew up to, but that's how simple it was. And what got me to want to start making my own moonshine was somebody asked me one day, "Well, did you make this?" In my mind, I bought Bullet Bourbon, and I mixed all the ingredients together, aged in the barrel, but I didn't make the whiskey.
Yeah.
So it was just like a light bulb. It kind of clicked, and I said, you know what? I'm going to buy a still. So I went and bought a 8-gallon still to start off with, and said I'm going to make my own rye. I'm going to age it for however long it takes, because in the smaller barrels, it's not like you got to age it for 3 years like in a big barrel.
Right.
It's less. So I started off with that, and I mean, realistically, with an 8-gallon still, you only get about a gallon and a half of booze. And as it...
What's a still run?
I mean, the whole setup for that one, because you have to have your mash pots and all that stuff too, and your grains and everything to make it. We could talk the whole process, but it was about $1,500 to start out. $1,500 to $2,000, you could have everything to use to cook, and I mean that's everything from your mash pot, to basically your still, couple jugs, even your hydrometer,
The whole kit.
The whole kit.
To make a gallon every 2 months or something.
Well, I mean, it only takes about, once you're mashing it, you mash it during the day, and then normally it takes 7 to 10 days to ferment, and you can cook it. So less than a week, I would say a week, you could cook that gallon and a half.
Yeah.
Well, I ended up selling, because my buddy really started getting involved in it. So I ended up, it was a lot of work just for a gallon and a half. You
Right.
know? And when you make moonshine, it's not consistent. So like, it might be coming out at 150 proof, and about, not for that one, but like on my bigger still I'll get to, it drops like 10% every so often.
Right.
So like I ended up going to a 26-gallon still, and I get 5 solid gallons of booze out of that. It's
Holy
just straight
shit.
white lightning. So like my first gallon, depending on what I'm making, my first gallon can come out anywhere between 150, 160 proof, and it drops about 10 proof every gallon, which is perfect, because I don't like to take it past 100 proof, because you start getting what they call the heads, the hearts, and the tails. So, your heads are higher proof. Your hearts are obviously, your best group in between there. I'd say like 130 to 100,
Yeah.
And then your tails, it's still 100 proof, 180 proof. I'll still cook it, but it'll get cloudy. It gets like imperfections in it.
Right.
But I'll use those again when I cook again, and it boosts the proof. So it's like it's almost distilling that gallon or two.
Yeah, you like recycle it until you get what you want.
It's just like, vodka's distilled like 3 or 4 times.
Yeah.
I mean, vodka doesn't have much flavor because they keep cooking it out. So that's why, like with bourbon, a lot of the times you'll cook it twice. Like, believe it or not, George Washington was a bootlegger, and his biggest sell was his stuff that he batched twice. He distilled twice.
Yeah.
Because it takes more time, and it will take a little of the flavor. It's a little bit of an art, but for that, it'll boost your proof.
Yeah. And then that's such a good fucking skill, because if there's a zombie apocalypse, like that's something where like, I'll trade you ammo if for my alcohol, like you have something that you can make without relying on much other things than yourself.
Yeah, as long as you can get the grains and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I mean,
and you trade, I'll give you once this batch is ready, I'll pay you back for the grain,
Yeah, you start trading and stuff like that. But yeah,
it's we know what you would do in The Walking Dead. Like, you'd be that guy, just
I'd
machine
be the
gun and
guy with an
alcohol.
M16 making moonshine. The higher the proof, the better. And I mean, I have really high just white lightning stuff. I make an apple pie moonshine.
An apple pie moonshine. Wow. I got to try that.
So it's funny. That's where it started, was the old fashions for me to make my own rye. And then it blew up to an apple pie moonshine, a fireball. I make a bourbon. I make a rye. I make a French oak. And then I make the regular white lightning. And it all just blew up just from that. So basically how that started was, when you make the apple pie, you normally got about to have 150, 140 proof white lightning. Because when you fill it up with the apple juice and the cider and all the other stuff you mix it with, it cuts it in half. So it's about 70 proof. So I had those for the higher proofs, but then the 100 proof stuff, it was like either I aged in a barrel and I'd have extra. So just one day I'm like,
what do I do?
I bet you I can make my own. I don't really drink Fireball, but I said, you know what? Let's try it. So, basically it's just the white lining with some sugar and cinnamon sticks in it, and it sits in a jar, and it's 100 proof. And Fireball's only 65, and my stuff is way better.
Yeah.
Everybody
your
takes
Fireballs. Now, question about the Fireball, because I tried your Fireball. Your Fireball is a million times better. I can't stand the actual Fireball. It's too sweet. Yours is more of an alcohol. It's more gourmet. Yeah. Is that? I for a moment I thought Fireball was the name of that brand. Is it a brand, or is
Fireball is a brand?
Okay, and that's why it just tastes like a Fireball. Yeah. No, because I started thinking
Jack Daniels has a blend too.
Yeah,
they could call it Fire Jack or something like that. They call it. So yeah. Everybody says, "What are you gonna name it?" And I think you guys were laughing. They were calling it Cinnamon Toast or something.
So everybody was like, "This is Cinnamon Toast."
Yeah. So
you kind of made me break my rule. I have a 2-wheel 2-drink rule. Not that night.
Not that night. Yeah.
Not that night, but I ate like 3 burgers after the whole thing. So
yeah, that was pretty. I like doing tastings like that. I enjoy it. I got the spouts for the jars and stuff, and I tell everybody a little bit about it. This was aged, and then you taste. I enjoy that too. So
yeah, of course, it's a great experience. So what's the goal with this? You just want to do it for yourself? You want to promote it? You want to get a contract and start doing this at a big commercial level? What would be the goal?
I've had a couple people come to me and say, let me be a private investor, and stuff like that. And I'm like, I'm about 2.5 years away from retirement to where I could really have time to do something like that.
Yeah.
So I am looking into it. I looked at licensing. It's, believe it or not, it's only like $600 for their permit and $300 a year for the license, as long as you don't make over 100,000 gallons, which is a lot of booze.
Yeah.
So I mean, realistically, I could legally do it. I don't know.
You can legally do it and provide for your family and live comfortably at that scale.
It's all about, like you said,
with a $600 license. Wow, that's nothing.
Yeah, with selling, how much can you make? Obviously, you have to get bigger stills. You have to get bigger quantities of stuff.
Yeah.
You have to ramp it up, and obviously, you got to have somebody selling it, getting it out to bars, getting it out to, restaurants, grocery stores, all that kind of stuff like that.
Unless if you open up your own bar and you just serve your own.
Yeah. I had an opportunity to buy a bar, and I live in Monrovia, and there was a place up on Myrtle, and the guy was converted to a whiskey bar. But, that's the other thing is, you open up a bar or a restaurant, it's life-changing, because you're dedicated to it,
Your days or nights.
Well, there's no weekends,
there's no weekends.
Vacations, holidays, that's how you make your money. That's where the most is. And you got to be there to watch it.
And there's dramas and fights and all that other shit.
That's one of the biggest turnover for employees, as a restaurant. And then, where do you lose your money? You ever watch Bar Rescue? It's your pores, it's just, I just didn't know if I wanted to get into something like that. But I mean, I enjoy doing this. I'm going to drink it regardless, And I enjoy people coming to my house. I mean, I got more booze than anybody on the planet.
Cool. It's very awesome. I have a few friends that I've been going to their houses, and they've been doing these experiences. And I'm like, this is so fucking cool. Like, one of my buddies, I went to his house, and he has a huge tequila, collection. So he brought all the tequila bottles out, like 30, 40 bottles. And it was just little pours. It was like, try this one. This one came from this. And he's a nerd about the tequila and this grower and that grower. And if you mention anything commercial, he laughs, So he goes very private. And then this past weekend, I went to my buddy's house, George, and what his thing was, I thought it was cool. He bought the hot sauces. You know, the 10 hot sauces. They do that celebrity hot sauce thing where you try each one.
Yeah.
And he did a bunch of wings, and he got a Ziploc bag, and there was 5 of us, and he put 5 wings with the hot sauce, mixed it in. Each person got their own, and we were going up levels, and it was funny because people couldn't last, and then one was burning his tongue, and you know these experiences are awesome. So the fact that you make your own moonshine and share this experience at your home, that by itself is fucking.
I got a pool in the backyard, so summertime it's always like people come over from my house. It's like, you know.
Do you kick them out if they don't drink or something?
No, but I mean, they drink, you know. I'm the host of the most because, you know, I just have so much booze and I'll be like, taste this. And they're like, slow down. I got to make it the rest of the day. Like for me, though, I'm used to it. You know, most of my bourbons I'm drinking are 100 to 130 proof. So like a sip. But a funny story real quick. A younger kid came over from somebody we knew, and you know, me, I just hand out whole bottles of apple pie. Here, you're here for the day. You know, here's your jar.
Yeah.
And I looked over. He had just got there. About 40 minutes later, 3/4 of his jar was gone.
Oh my god.
And I was like, okay, you know. So he made it through the day, but I guess that night the next morning he calls and says, I can't find my glasses. Did I leave my glasses over there? And we're like, I looked everywhere. I couldn't find his glasses. He ended up finding them in the blueberries in his fridge.
Oh my
that
god.
morning. So he was.
Well, you know, I woke up the next day. I mean, I didn't drink a whole lot either, right? You know, I sampled pretty much all the flavors, but I drank mine. Most people were kind of like sipping, and then they would pour it into the glass. I felt great the next day.
So I've also had people come too because my stuff is very. How could I say it? I use a stainless steel still, not a copper, because I think it's cleaner. It's better. My quality of my booze is very good. So I've had people say, I drink your stuff, and man, I'm not hungover the next day. And don't get me wrong. You drink enough of anything, you'll get a hangover.
Yeah.
But even with me, even my regular bourbons, I drink, you know, high quality bourbons, you know, even though we're a high proof. And I don't have the hangovers like I would, I think, like just with an 80 proof Jack or something.
Yeah.
It's just a better age quality booze, better.
Well, it's better quality, number one. That's why it tastes better. But then they're not filling it up with sugar, and sugar's like the number one thing that I notice. Like I can't. Obviously, in my early 20s, you know, an AMF or a Long Island, that's like all I wanted to drink. Yeah. But now I can't touch that. I'll drink a bottle, no problem. I'll drink all day. But it has to be pure alcohol, maybe rocks. You know, I don't even like putting soda in my drinks anymore.
No.
I had a friend of mine. He gave me a great analogy. I was putting, you know, Coke with a cognac, and he's like, "Don't do that." And I go, "What's the difference, man? You drink the cognac, and then you drink a Coke after." He's all, "Robert, you wouldn't dip a hamburger in a soda, would you?" And I go, "No." And he goes, "You bite it, enjoy it, and then you drink your soda." I was like, "Oh, okay, that makes sense."
Yeah, it is definitely that way. Like you know, it's like your wine snobs, you know, don't drink it cold or you can't put ice in it. And to me, I mean,
or añejos, like tequila añejos, don't mix it with anything.
Yeah, I mean, your bourbon guys are that way too. Some of them, like, if you put it on the rocks, they're like a little snooty. You know what I mean? You should be drinking that neat. So, I mean, I'll try it neat, but just like anybody else, I drink my drink how I want to drink it. And I never tell anybody, you know, how they should drink it. You want ice in it? You want to do whatever? I mean, like you said, with Coke, I'd be like, I'm not giving you the good stuff. I got some other stuff I'll give you. But we're not doing it with that. But, you know.
Yeah, it's like Patron. Patron's terrible. It's fucking nasty. And this is why you chill it. This is why you add salt. This is why you have a lime. Yeah. And this is why you do a countdown with your friends and like, all right, we're going to do this shit in 3, 2, 1. And you bite and you still make all those faces, even though it's, you know what, I iced and chilled and blah, 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 because it's just terrible. But when you get into, you know, higher and better alcohols, like I love Clase Azul tequila. You can't mix that with anything. If you mix it with anything, you're just messing it up, you know? Yeah. So you got to stick to it. But I noticed it's the sugar. I noticed that the cheaper shit, they cover it with sugar so you can't taste how strong and disgusting it is.
Yeah, and I mean, your bourbons, I mean, the only time that, I mean, obviously you're getting the alcohol from the sugar, but any booze is that way, you know, because you're adding sugar to the mash. But once it cooks, it's not like you're adding any sugar to it. I mean, it's just pure booze. And a lot of people have a misconception, like I hear a lot of people say, well, I don't drink dark booze. I do realize it's all white. The only thing that changes the color is the barrel. It's just getting the colors and the flavor from the barrel is the only thing that changes it. You know? I was in
Vegas at Zuma, and Zuma has it's like a Japanese American fusion kind of place, and they have this one drink called Burning History, and it's a Japanese whiskey. But the reason I'm bringing it up is because they bring a piece of the barrel of Macallan. I believe it's Macallan 18, and they grab the barrel and they burn it with a torch. And after it burns, they blow it off and they grab the smoke and they fill the cup with just the smoke of it. And then they mix their drink in there. Fucking amazing. Wow. But the smells and, it enhances the taste of the whole.
Yeah, because 99% of all Japanese whiskey is Scotch. They just can't call it Scotch.
Yeah. We were talking about that. Why isn't bourbon a cognac? Why can't Scotch be called a Scotch? Why can't a sparkling wine be a champagne?
Same thing. But, champagne is from France.
A lot of people don't know that.
Yeah, the only way you can call it. Same with Scotch. Has to be made in Scotland. Irish whiskey, from Ireland. Bourbon is from America. So when it just says whiskey, it could be identical to a bourbon or even a Scotch or whatever, but they can only call it whiskey. Basically, your general content of a straight bourbon needs to be 61% corn or more, and a charred oak barrel aged for at least 3 years. That's your pretty generic thing on that. And believe it or not, all your Scotches, most of your Scotches are aged in ex-bourbon barrels. So, Jack Daniels is the biggest export of barrels to Scotland for that. Now, Irish whiskey has a little bit different rule. There's no specific barrel or age to that. So they can use any type of barrel, or it's a charred oak white oak barrel for bourbon and so forth and stuff like that. I mean, I'm sure there's a couple other rules, but that's just your basics. So that's what they call it. So, for example, your rye has got to be 61% rye or more. It's not a bourbon; it's a rye. Technically, I mean, sometimes you'll see it called a rye bourbon or something like that. I mean, it's pretty close. But your Jack Daniels, that's why they call it Tennessee whiskey. They charcoal filter it. So as soon as you do that, you can't call it a bourbon anymore. Just like Gentleman's Jack's been distilled 2 or 3 times. Not distilled, I mean charcoal filtered.
Right.
And it smooths it out a little bit, just like your vodkas. It smooths it out and stuff like that. So as soon as you do that, supposedly you can't call it a bourbon.
Yeah.
And then you got your cask strengths, that all come out. It comes out whatever the proof is in the barrel, whatever you age it. And most of your stuff comes out high like that, and then they'll water it down to a specific, so it's 90 across the board.
So it's not just the region where it comes from. It's the way there is a difference in mix.
Yes.
Okay.
There's a criteria to the mix.
There's a criteria, because I always thought sparkling wine is champagne, but it doesn't come from Champagne, France. Therefore, you can't call it champagne. Same thing, cognac, France, or whatever the case is. Tequila, Mexico.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that's not the case. Well, that's mostly the case, but there is a minimum criteria.
Yeah, to be a bourbon or a rye or stuff like that.
Or a tequila or whatever the case is.
Or you just call it whiskey.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's technically all whiskey, but,
So quick question. You're out of the country, you're traveling, and you go to a bar. What do you order? Because nothing is going to be as good as your...
Yeah, so I've become, especially old fashions, right off the bat, I'll get to the other, but old fashions, I'll even ask how you make it before I even order one.
Yeah.
And I believe it or not, a lot of times, if they don't have big ice cubes, I won't even order it, because I already know it's not something they specialize in. And, you get picky about it. And when you make your own, I'm sure a chef, when he goes and eats somewhere, he'll ask some questions, or I'm going to mind trying different stuff.
Yeah. Can I look in your kitchen real quick?
But I like to try stuff I haven't seen or tried before. I just got back from Tennessee, Nashville, and I actually looked for a lot of stuff that I can't get here, because there's, local people, and I'd ask the bartenders, what's something, and I'd look, I haven't seen that. Can I try that?
Yeah.
And so I like trying different stuff. I don't always go for what I do. I like stuff that's cast in different barrels. So it means it's aged like your regular bourbon, and they might cast it for 6 months in a rum cast barrel, sherry barrel, wine barrel, anything like that. I love the flavors. Whistle Pig 12 is one of my favorite.
Which one?
Whistle Pig 12.
Whistle Pig 12.
It's cast in 3 different barrels. So I love stuff that's cast like that in different barrels, so.
Yeah, it changes it all up.
Yeah, I like to try different stuff and things.
Have you tried, do I remember? Buglati? I think it's Buglati.
I haven't heard of that one.
Yeah, they were an old brand. It's oily. I can't. I got to find it and post it.
It's a bourbon or a whiskey?
It's a whiskey. It's a whiskey, but this company, I think it's a Scotch. I'm sorry, it's a Scotch.
Scotch.
It's a Scotch, Buglati. and they had a place, a facility, but it wasn't being used for like something many years, and they just had alcohol just sitting there. And then this company, I believe, if I remember correctly, it's called Buklati.
Gotcha.
Buklati, and they have one that if you just touch the liquid, it's oily, like it's super.
Wow.
But it's delicious, and it's fair price. It's like $600 a bottle. I mean, I know people are like, oh my God, that's crazy. But compared to like a Louis XIII or, compared to most expensive bottles, something that age and something like that is amazing.
Yeah. And the thing about it, people don't realize how much Prohibition affected the whole world.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because, your stuff's aged a certain amount of time. So when like Prohibition stopped, we weren't having those bourbon barrels over here. So Scotland wasn't getting the barrels from us, you know, for the ex-bourbons and stuff. So that's why you don't see stuff aged 200 years. You know what I mean? You're seeing stuff that's aged 92 years right now, and they want like $100,000 for it.
Yeah.
It's crazy. I just seen an ad, and I forgot what it was. I think it was a Scotch, and it was like it was a cognac. I'm sorry. And it was $100,000 for the bottle.
Yeah, I was in Cuba a few years ago. They had a 490-year-old rum that they had found, because Cuba celebrated, Havana celebrated 500 years, and they found that, I believe it was like a pirate ship thing, whatever, but the thing was like one shot was like $1,500 or something. I was like, fuck, man, for 1 ounce, like, oh, and I get it, but like, it was called Santiago 500, something like that.
See, that was the thing. Rums were big back then because everybody on a ship, water was bad. They would drink rum, everything like that. And that's what basically started America making bourbon was part of the revolution that English, they were blockading us. Yeah. So we couldn't get the molasses and stuff that we used to make the rum. So the Americans, George Washington, our forefathers, looking around, we have all these grains, wheat, rye, all this stuff, and that's where it all started.
Were the Native Americans, the Indians, did they have alcohol? I know they were big on marijuana and medicine and all that stuff, but did they have any any alcohol substance?
I'm not saying that they didn't.
Because I think Buffalo Trace is like the oldest American.
That's a distillery, yeah. There's like 3 major distilleries that.
But they've been around like before America or something like that, right? That's what they promote.
I don't know for sure. I've been around before America. I mean, all our forefathers came over, and I mean, I'm sure they were bootlegging over there. But like I said, where bourbon came from was they started using all the grains that were here because they were blockade because everybody drank rum back then. Yeah. So that's where it started changing. That's where your bourbon started coming from and stuff like that, and they started just evolving from there. So it was pretty good history on seeing stuff like that. But the Indians, I'm sure they had something that they drank, but I've never really heard of anything, to be honest with you.
I know they had teas. Obviously anything they can they had stuff, but
their peyote alcohol. And all. I'm sure they put it into liquid form. They didn't just smoke it; they probably drank it at times too.
Yeah, maybe like the whole ayahuasca stuff too, but that was more South America. But I'm sure they had their own version here.
Yeah, and like a lot of the meads and stuff like that didn't follow everybody over across, from the European nations. You didn't have a lot of that stuff. When you go back and look at the generations on how alcohols were made and the areas, what they drank and stuff like that, made with honey and just everything else. You normally seen what was abundance, and like I just get to back that again. It's just we had all this grain. Yeah. And, they didn't, not until we got blockade did they started making it with that. It was all had to be rum. So
what I'm just thinking about, because you mentioned the rum thing, and I remember rum, even, I mean, you're talking years ago, but I'm talking about just in the last 20 years, rum used to be a big deal. Strawberry daiquiris, mojitos, rum and coke, Cuba Libres. It was a big deal. Now it doesn't seem, I don't hear anybody talk about rum. What would be, in your lifetime, your opinion, how would you describe alcohol? Like when you grew up, what was the thing? And then when you were in your 20s, what was the thing? Like, how would you phase that out? Just in your personal opinion.
I mean, you could go back. I mean, even it was, at first, obviously, it was beer. Mickey's Big Mouse or Hornets or, when we were young, Hornets. it was Milwaukee's Best because it was $4 a 12-pack.
Or Boonies. Remember Boonies?
Yeah, Boonies. Even Zimas. Remember Zimas?
Damn it, though, I do remember them.
I mean, that's
type bad memories.
Yeah, just how stuff, went around. Or even Boone's Farm. Zima. Boone's Farm. It's just like, oh, God.
Yeah, let's go through the phases and then.
Yeah, and then you finally get to, you're right. It was a lot of stuff like daiquiris, stuff like that. It was almost like, like when you were going to Mexico or Hawaii or something, all your fruity drinks like that. And like
Pina
you said,
coladas.
pina coladas, your rums and stuff. And then I think what started coming in after that, and I don't know about in between, but it was, your microbreweries started coming in.
But that's more recent, no?
Yeah, I mean, well,
They started coming in, but they became more popular.
Correct. And they were just blowing up. Everything was microbreweries. And then stuff started switching over now. I don't know if you noticed too, people started distilling their own stuff and making their own spirits. That's the next boom. It's coming right now. So you're gonna go to bars that are actually making their own vodka, tequila, and rum, and you can taste it there and everything. I've been seeing a lot more starting to pop up, and the spirits is just blowing up like that. That's the next wave. You're just starting to see it now, but that's going to be like the microbreweries next. It's because it's also happening up in the wineries too right now, because a lot of the wineries are becoming distilleries too, because a part of their product is already one step closer to fermenting, and they have to throw that stuff away with the grapes. Like I went up to Paso Robles. I've been up there a couple times, and they actually make vodka. They make their vodka out of grapes, and they distill it.
How's that?
Oh, it was amazing. They make gin.
And just people that are listening, vodka is usually what, potato based, right?
Well, it can be potato, corn, a lot of different bases. You know what I mean? But normally, because you distill it so many times, it takes the flavor out. That's why vodka just adheres to whatever you normally drink.
Yeah.
There's not very many people drink it on the rocks. Some do, and it's specific. There's not really a taste to it. They might put a squeeze of a lime in it, and they like it.
Right.
But they make a gin out of the grapes because, once they smash all the grapes up, that's one process already ready to ferment. They even took a vodka and aged it in a bourbon barrel, and I'm telling you, it tastes like a bourbon.
Wow.
It was unreal. So they're starting to use this stuff instead of throwing it away. It's already there.
Yeah, of course. They're losing money instead. They're turning it into money.
Yeah, so you're starting to see that at your wineries. People that are big wine tasting now, that they go and they actually have distilleries in the wineries now. And you could actually taste wine, or you can taste spirits.
Wow.
That's starting to blow up now, too.
So that's what's blowing up. Moonshine, like, what would be the definition of moonshine? Is it, because I know Americans call it moonshine, but the reason I ask is because I have a lot of Russian friends and Armenian friends, and they make their own vodka, and it's 100 proof. And it's delicious. It's fucking delicious. It's like apricot vodka, and it's very flavorful. It's delicious. It's strong. You take 2-3 shots, you're warm, you're buzzed, you're happy. But is that a moonshine, or like is moonshine a certain alcohol, or it's just people that make their own?
Well, I mean, realistically, the moonshine I make is technically whiskey.
Yeah.
You could I guess you
yeah.
just
So
call
that's my
it,
question. So you're making whiskey, but what's
it's the same though. I mean, like a lot of the times, if you watch, moonshiners, they'll make probably a lot of it's almost all corn based.
Right.
And I make a corn base. That's what I make my apple pie out of. I mean, they call it moonshine, but it's whiskey.
Yeah.
And I mean, you could call the same thing even if Buffalo Trace made a big old batch. It's going to come out looking like that. You could call it, technically, moonshine. I guess that. I think they just call it moonshine because they were out in the woods, and sometimes it'd be night, and I don't know the whole story to that, but I mean, it's whiskey.
That sounds like the what is it? The Blue Moon.
Yeah.
Blue Moon, and it was like, oh, they made this beer, and it was like so good, and they looked up, and they're like, oh, this is as rare as a Blue Moon.
I'm sure somebody's going, he doesn't know what he's talking about. There's a story to this, and there probably is.
Oh, there's a story to everything, but we're not going to know it all.
But it's, I mean, it's technically, it's a whiskey, you know? And I could distill that enough times, and it would probably almost be like a vodka. You know what I mean? It's like if you look at where people are, their regions, that's what they use. Like a lot of the times in Russia, it was potatoes, or Poland potatoes for their vodka. But you can make it with anything. Vodka's pretty simple. There's not a whole lot to it. Now, like your gins are a little different. Has the botanicals and stuff like that that give it the flavor and stuff. You can go.
What kind of berries does it have? It has
Oh, geez. I mean, there's so many different ways, but there is a main berry, and I don't remember what it is. I haven't got into that.
Juneberry,
something like that.
Jujuberry, something like that. Yeah.
And I do have I went and bought it in my still, so I could actually put flavors in it as it's going through. So I could start doing gins and stuff. But I've been having such fun with the bourbons and stuff like that. I haven't got to that yet. So
yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty fun. I enjoy it.
No, I was just asking because I have a little bottle right there that a buddy of mine brought from Colombia, and it's called Aguardiente, And black and white, it's kind of like Colombia's national moonshine.
Gotcha.
And it tastes like black licorice. But you finish a bottle of that. The nickname for that is agua loca, which is crazy water. Because you finish that, you're just...
See, and what people don't understand, it doesn't come out in that flavor.
Close to the mic, sorry.
It doesn't come out in that flavor.
Yeah.
I mean...
they add that.
Yeah, they're adding those flavors to it and stuff like that. So
It's such a bad flavor to add black licorice. Nobody likes black licorice.
I used to have a guy that was a buddy I knew that was Danish, and he loved this black licorice that they would bring over, and I mean it tasted like shit, but he loved it.
It's an acquired taste, yeah.
You're brought up that way, you know what I mean? They were probably that way, and somehow they probably soaked that same licorice in that booze, and they're like, "Oh man, I ate this as a kid. I love it."
Yeah.
Yeah, and we're like, it tastes like shit, but you know, it's kind of...
Yeah, the thing is that one kind of starts like tasting not as good, but it's alcohol. So after 2-3 shots, you're like, I love black licorice. You know?
That's like anything.
It's the greatest thing.
Yeah, your first drink comes through. Sorry.
You're good.
Your first drink comes through, and you know, sometimes it's a little rough. By your second one, you're like, oh man, this is good stuff. You know.
Yeah.
So you just got to warm up a little bit.
And then regarding your motorcycle, you have a street glide?
Yeah, 2017.
2017, 114? Is that the M8? Or you have a 110?
110.
Oh, you have the 110.
Yeah.
And then how'd you hear about the bike shed?
So I knew Chris and his wife used to own the mechanic shop around the corner.
Yeah.
And he builds bikes.
Okay.
So he had a bike shop actually in the little bar, and they had a lot of barrel-aged stuff there. And because we worked downtown LA, we just ran across it, and we'd go there and have drinks. I mean, they had barrel-aged everything, rum, all kinds of stuff. That's why I loved it.
Before this location?
Yes.
Before the new owners?
But yeah, before these new owners. And the pandemic hit, and that place closed down. So then it was just weird. I was at Denny's one day over there, right by the prison, basically, right there at the 101. And I ran into them, and they're like, yeah, we're opening this, or, we're, helping these people open this new place and stuff. And I was like, cool, we've been looking for a new place, and it sounds like a good theme. So, yeah, because Chris, he actually builds, choppers for some high-end people and stuff like that.
I don't know if I met Chris.
He did a lot of work around there. He did a lot of the machine shop work and stuff like that there.
Yeah.
So his wife's the redheaded one. She's there during the days most of the time, so I haven't been there. But yeah,
so he's working there now? No, he still has a shop.
He has a shop. I think she works there.
Got it.
So he was just he was helping out as they were building. Yeah, because I think I found out. I bought my membership in November there.
Really?
Yeah. I thought they were going to be open a lot sooner, but
everybody did.
Yeah, but
everybody did, except for me, because I had no idea of their existence until their opening grand night, and just a bunch of people were like, "You got to check this place out. You got to check this place out."
Yeah.
And the next day, I was like, I want part of it.
Yeah.
I want part of it. I really love what they've created.
Yep.
One of my buddies, I just put a post up for my last podcast. He described it the best way. It's an MC for people that don't want to be a part of an MC. Without going the full extent of
It's kind of funny too, because the Mongols Clubhouse is just down the street from there.
Isn't?
Down the street.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Right, and then so they're an MC then.
Oh, they're a 1%.
No, Bike Shed. Bike Shed is an actual MC that's because you have to register to be an MC, from my understanding. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but anytime you put MC on a vest or anywhere, you have to register it as an MC.
Gotcha.
So there's usually a membership fee, and they have a membership, and they're posting MC. So I think it's like a MC.
Wow.
Without being an MC.
Yeah.
But I like the fact that they're keeping it limited. I think, what is it, 1,000?
Yeah.
1,000, and they're going to have 100 lifetime members, which that's pretty cool too.
Yep.
Especially for the new people, because I guess the pricing, jumped a little bit. So it almost makes more sense, that part, but.
Gotcha. And I think that's some whiskey cabinets there. They haven't figured out the pricing on that yet, so.
I think it's funny because they sent it on the post recently saying they were still trying to calculate that, but I did receive something that they came down to a conclusion.
Yeah. I want to throw numbers out there. I've heard a little bit about it, but don't know for sure.
Yeah. And I was thinking, oh man, I'll get a locker and I'll put like a really nice expensive bottle. But then a good buddy of mine told me that's a terrible idea. And I go, why? He goes, because if you get buzzed or drunk and one of your buddies is like, let's open the locker, I'll be like, yeah, let's open the locker. And I go, this is a pretty bad idea.
Yeah, because I mean, realistically, the reason you would get a locker is if they don't have a booze that you like to drink on that or a special occasion.
Yeah,
or
so
something.
you would put your moonshine in there and.
Yeah, and they're gonna build a deck off the back there so you can smoke cigars, later on. So you could probably put some cigars in there, stuff like that. But yeah, it's a good theme. It's a good setup. So I mean, they seem to be getting pretty busy.
Yeah, I smoke every now and then cigarettes, and I said, you know what, my birthday's coming up next month. I go, once my birthday comes, I think I'm just gonna move just to cigars. My nationality is Cuban, so it makes sense. I should just be doing cigars. That's it.
So I probably got into cigars probably about 2.5 years ago. Never really smoked. I never smoked cigarettes or anything.
Yeah.
And it was funny because, I'll drink my whiskey. It's the Irishman in me, and I'll drink it and I'll be fine. I smoked half that cigar and had one whiskey, and I stood up and I was like, what was that?
I feel dizzy, yeah.
So it does give you a little effect too with the cigars too, but ain't nothing like a nice cigar with a whiskey.
You ever dip it?
I don't. Yeah, I've watched people dip them. Yeah,
it makes the smoke smoother.
Smoke smoother?
Yeah,
I'll
the
try that
smoke
next
that
time.
comes through, it's so much smoother. It makes it very nice.
Yeah, I'll try that. But I do enjoy a good cigar with a good whiskey and just chill and relax and stuff like that. So,
yeah.
I'm not the connoisseur on cigars as I am with my bourbons.
Of course.
But yeah.
You're not making your own cigars.
Not yet. Yeah, not yet. Next thing you know, what are you trying to grow back there? I was like, somebody asked me that, that's how it starts.
I was doing a podcast and they put this idea and what?
Yeah. She'll tell me, she'll see when I'm cooking out there. Cause as I'm cooking, I'm tasting it. And then I'm tasting all my barrels that I have aging and stuff. She says, you're all sassy when you come in, and it's just funny. It's like a chef when he's eating, he's cooking, he's eating, and I'm drinking. So
yeah.
It's a good time.
And then another question, how'd you get into motorcycles? What was your first experience? That's something that I usually like asking everybody.
Oh, well, I mean, I rode dirt bikes as a kid forever, even the 3-wheel quads. I mean, Glamis, El Mirage, I rode all as a kid, even the old school.
So dad got you into it, bought you a dirt bike.
At dirt biking. And then when I got older, I lived in Rancho Cucamonga and I worked in downtown LA and traffic sucked.
Yeah,
so
still does.
I went through
still does.
I went through 3 bikes just going back and forth to work. Everything from a Seika 600 to a Bandit 1200 to an R6. And then I finally went to a 2014 Harley and then the 17. So I've kind of graduated.
Nice.
I live closer now, so I don't have to ride to work. But yeah, geez, for 20 years I rode almost every single day to work.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then your moonshine, can people buy it?
You really don't sell moonshine, that type of stuff.
Right
so
on.
yeah, it's it's all good. I enjoy just,
But sampling, but if somebody wanted like a sampling or something, they could just reach out to you.
I love doing tastings, and
tastings.
I sit there, taste with them, and I like to talk about it like I am right now. This is how the sage is.
We got to do this again with some samples and talk and describe it, and I'll bring somebody, and it'd be a good experience.
Oh no, I'll do that again. Yeah, I brought some with me. I didn't know what it was going to be like. So, but next time, definitely, maybe I'll bring my brother too, and he can talk about the guns and all that type of stuff. But yeah, we can do some sampling.
Talk about guns, and then in the middle, in between, you're like, try this one and this.
We'll try this one. We'll talk about it. But
and at the end of the podcast, I'll bring out all my guns, and your brother will bring out all his guns, and there'll be booze and guns and
just
America.
Yeah. But no, we can definitely do that. It'd be awesome. So I mean, I don't have a problem doing samplings and stuff like that. I mean, I'm not licensed or anything like that, so it's not really like I'm selling it.
No, privately.
Oh yeah,
publicly, but privately.
Yeah.
Like for people to understand and describe and what to look for.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Or I guess I could just say I'm a bootlegger. I could be like moonshiners. Yeah.
Yeah. Sure. Or I could change the tone of your voice and then like kind of black out your face. And
it's funny. People ask me that all the time. You sell it? And they're like, do you have a card? I'm like, no, I'm a bootlegger. I mean, why would I have a card for that? Yeah. It's not legal.
But so many people are doing crazy stuff like that. I was looking at Facebook and people were just like, oh, got a pound of weed, and, it's this flavor, call me up. And I'm like, what? What are you doing? People selling fake Rolexes and fake this online, and they're doing live videos. Hi, I'm Sally, reach me. This is item 321. I'm like, whoa, this is the balls. And I'm sure they get away. Obviously, they get away with it.
Oh, well,
like what's going to happen? I mean, I overthink it and say I would never do that. But then, like, really, what's going to happen?
Well, what's going to make the police chase a guy that's selling a pound? I mean, they want the big quantities or anything like that. Same with me. I mean, if I'm selling, thousands of gallons of booze, they want to tax it.
Right.
So yeah, they're going to come after me. If I'm selling a couple jars to a couple buddies, to pay for my supplies, I really don't think they're going to come after me. You know what I mean? So it's kind of, on that aspect of it, making your own wine, I sold this guy a bottle for $20 and, I don't think the IRS or the ATF is going to be knocking on my door
at all. Yeah. That's not a big concern.
Yeah.
So I guess this is why people do it.
Yeah. I mean, there's nothing saying that it's not illegal to buy the still, you can go online. I think it's Mile High out of Colorado is where I bought mine from. I mean, they send you the whole kit. There's nothing saying that you can't buy it in California. Sometimes there's some stuff you can buy it everywhere else but California. So
not even that?
No, nothing. As far as I know, there's no law against that part. It's about the quantities, I think. If it's just your own stuff you're making. I mean, because technically you can make fuel and hand sanitizer with the same thing too.
Yeah.
You can. So it's a little bit of a gray line, I guess.
And then how would you explain? I like moonshines. I like these vodkas. I like your 100 proof. I like it. Some people can't handle it. I really like it. I mean, what's the justification for that? Am I an alcoholic or?
No,
it just tastes better. It feels good.
Well, in my opinion,
and it's smoother than the other issue that I have is that you drink 151 Bacardi 151, like that's fucking fire. Like I don't know why that tastes so fire, but you drink your stuff or the homemade stuff that I've tried is delicious.
So your 100 proof, unless it. So like with mine, like I say, it comes
100%, 100 alcohol.
It's 100 proof, so it's
50%, yeah.
Yeah, like okay, your Jack Daniel's is 80 proof. Most of your vodkas are 80 proof.
Right.
So most of my stuff is no less than 100 proof. So basically, with the way I do it, so like Jack Daniel's might come out at 150, and they might age it at 150, but they water it down so it stays consistently at 80 proof all the way through. So maybe that's a difference where you can taste the flavors and the tastes and stuff like that. Where mine, there's no water, it's not watered down. So even my 100 proof comes out of the still at 100 proof, because it comes out in stages. Like I was saying, it drops 10%. So there's no water in mine. I mean, it's not like I'm watering it down to make it,
But that makes sense. It's 100 proof, which means it's 50% alcohol, which is still drinkable. Or 151 is 151 proof, which is 78% alcohol.
Well, did you try my 130 proof rye?
I loved it. Yeah, it was the first thing you poured. I loved it.
And that's smooth for 135 proof. I normally don't tell people the proof because then they make a face, but then they taste it and you see them go, wow, I would never know that's 135 proof because it's very smooth and good. And that's not aged. I mean, that's just straight white lightning.
Yeah. And do you know the reason why they do proof versus alcohol? Because proof just basically is a description of how much alcohol. But what's the main, why are we using proof?
I don't know, to be honest with you. Never really looked that up because both of them are on the bottle.
Yeah.
Most of these bottles.
Yeah, you're right.
It'll have both.
Does it have proof?
Yeah.
Prove it to me. Do the tequila. That's the Rock's tequila.
Let me see here.
Every celebrity's got a tequila.
No, I'm wrong on this one. It goes 40% alcohol.
Yeah, I've always seen alcohol, but I don't think I've seen the proof.
Yeah, you could be right, to be honest with you on that.
But a lot of people
know I double it. Yeah.
Yeah, I know, or I believe they have the choice of putting proof or alcohol. They could put whatever they want. Now that's agua loco. That's that other one.
Yeah, you're probably right on that, to be honest with you.
I think some people do put proof or they put alcohol, but I've never seen both of them at the same time.
I think you could be right on that. Yeah. No. Now I'm going to look. Now I want to find out.
We need to find out what the difference is between proof and alcohol.
Yeah. I mean, it's just double. We know that.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Or divided in two.
Yeah.
Well, let's do this again. Let's do the samples. Let's get your brother in here. Your brother's into guns, right?
Yep.
So he's a collector. Does he train or?
Yeah, he's a assistant match director at the 3-gun competition every month up there.
Okay, well, so, maybe we could set up a day where we go shoot guns, and then the next day we do a podcast. And
yeah, he'd
that'd be awesome.
They set up all the targets, where you go through the obstacles and stuff like that.
Yeah, I'd love that.
That's what the 3-gun is. So it's pistol, shotgun, and an AR.
Yeah.
You shoot different stages and get to shoot all kinds of different stuff.
Yeah, I've done it, but I've done individual. Like I did a shotgun course at ITTS over here by Angeles Crest, and then another weekend I did a shotgun class. Then another weekend I did the AR.
You'd love 3-gun then.
Yeah.
It's
So you're at all of them.
Yeah, not like one stage might be pistols and shotgun. One might be AR and shotgun.
That's badass.
One might be all pistol. There's normally like five different stages, and they're all different.
Yeah.
So.
And I just bought a new shotgun, semi-auto. Fucking amazing.
Yeah, I'll show you. I'll bring my M2 Benelli that he custom did for me. All the stippling,
Benellis are badass too.
12-round tube comes out the front. All that good stuff. He did it all for me. So.
You mean 10 round, right? In California.
Yeah.
Oh, you're Arizona. Nice.
Yeah. Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah. So it's all good. But yeah, we'll do that for sure.
Cool. Let's plan it.
All right.
All right, brother.
All right, man. Thanks.
And we're done. Cool. Nice and simple.